Hey flower friends, welcome back to Flower Patch. I am out in the greenhouse. It's been freezing here, freezing cold, down into the 20s, high 20s at night. Well, last night I think it was 30s, but anyways, you get the picture. It's cold, and it's even cold out here right now. Let me see, what is the temperature? It is 44 degrees. It's time for me to hook up my heater. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that's going to make me not very popular. Not very popular at all. And that is using cardboard in the garden. I know it's highly popular with many, and they have found it very effective in the ways that they use it. Think of this as a public service announcement rather than something that's picking on that technique in what is a lot of people call sheet mulching. I wanted to just share some things that people don't think about, the pitfalls that you can encounter when you use cardboard in the garden. Now, this is not to say that you haven't found it effective and that others haven't found it effective, but it is kind of like when you see a drug advertisement on television. They tell you what it can help with, but then they also have all the warnings, the safety warnings of people, the side effects that people could encounter when they take that medication. Now, not everybody has those same side effects. So it is particular to a person and their physiognomy. So think of it in that way. And wouldn't you rather know maybe the side effects of something before you decided to use it? I know I would in my organic gardening practices. So let's get going and talk about the pitfalls of using cardboard in your garden. So many popular gardening channels, I do know, promote the use of cardboard when sheet mulching for building new garden beds, or smothering out maybe some grassy area, lawns or turf, to build, like I said, a new bed, and that is supposed to block the weeds. And it is very effective for many in doing that. But is it necessary? So you'll see in many gardening articles, they'll say, don't layer your leaves or leave your leaves on your lawn because it'll kill your grass. But there's no cardboard involved. It is just the leaves. So if is that effective, why add the cardboard? And that's just an example of how it even worked for me. When I first started my front entrance garden, it had been a lawn. And the year I decided I wanted that to be a cottage garden style with pathways and lots of flowers, and I didn't want the lawn, I went around the neighborhood and got everybody's leaves in the fall, and I piled them probably 6 to 8 inches deep on there. And then I threw a little compost on top to hold the leaves down, which really wasn't even necessary. And I mean, just a little thing, even if you just wet them down, because if I'm doing it in fall, it's the start of the rainy season. So before they could blow away, you wet them down. And that was enough to kill out the lawn. And anything that was left in the spring was so easily taken care of that it didn't matter. And I didn't use one piece of cardboard. So what are the downsides of cardboard? Well, one is in many climates, it won't break down. It will stay there for years and years. And one video I just saw was over at Regenerative Gardening. It used to be Blossom and Branch. Brianna showed how she had used it in an area 5 years ago, and it still hasn't broken down. And that's because probably of her climate, and her climate's not far from mine as far as being drier and not as wet, even though with all the snow, you would think we have a wetter climate, but it's not. It's only during a certain specific time. And even I had used some cardboard a couple of years ago in the front to keep weeds growing in an area that I couldn't keep control of. And after 2 years, I still had to go pull up that cardboard when I wanted to plant there. And it was hard and compacted, and it just wasn't great soil structure. And that's the second downfall that I wanted to mention. because cardboard can restrict the filtration of water, it can lead to compaction in an area. Now, I had just noticed another video on recently posted of someone, a very popular vlogger, using slip sheets. That is cardboard that is placed between pallets and or used in shipping for putting between, like I said. But slip sheets are one of the most treated cardboard that you can get. And what I mean is they treat it with chemicals to make it water resistant, because you notice, you would think, they wouldn't want it to get wet or, be mushy. It doesn't do the job, and or make it smoother because slip sheets, you get the point, slip. And so, yeah, that is a reason why you'd really want to avoid slip sheets in your sheet mulching or using under plants, etc., because it will restrict the flow of moisture even more than regular cardboard boxes. So when it restricts the moisture, it also is restricting the oxygen that is able to get down into your soil. And that can lead to anaerobic conditions, meaning it's not getting the oxygen level. I just had read an article, Saskatchewan something or other, but they were testing it, and people will say, well, I have all these worms right underneath the cardboard. Well, in that study, they found that that was because the worms were coming up to get oxygen because it was depleted below that layer of cardboard because the oxygen was not able to get into it. So, of course, they're coming up and surfacing to breathe. So instead of suffocating them or suffocating just the weeds, you're also suffocating the worms. Some may dispute that. Some they say, oh, well, I have cardboard out on I laid it down on concrete and then I had worms underneath it. Well, that's because it's many times moisture underneath there, because it'll wick from across the surface of the concrete or the paved surface. And yeah, you'll even notice worms on top of your paved concrete, etc., after a rainstorm. And that's because they are coming up for oxygen because the waterlogged soil doesn't hold the oxygen. I always wondered why all these worms would come up and go to areas where you wouldn't think they'd want to live, but that was what the study found. So that's another thing to take note of that is not a good thing, is the lack or the deficiency of oxygen beneath the cardboard. So we are now buying products, etc., from other countries, and it is shipped in cardboard boxes. But do we know how that cardboard was made? There's many more chemicals used in the manufacturing of cardboard than you would think, as well as I just read an article about microplastics being found. Microplastics are found in so many things, but it's also found in cardboard shipping containers. And when you use that out in your garden, you're actually getting that into your soil. And that's something I really don't want. And yes, as I said before, there's microplastics in so many things, but if I can avoid adding more of it, then I will. And that's one reason I avoid now using cardboard in my garden. So many claim, or many say, it's a great way to suffocate weeds, even Bermuda grass and bindweed. Now, I don't know where you're located that it suffocated Bermuda grass, but I know from experience, living in an area that Bermuda grass was prolific, it does not work because Bermuda grass the rhizomes can go down 15 feet into the soil. And as soon as that cardboard is gone and that area receives any light, that Bermuda is going to erupt again. So don't think that it's going to permanently eliminate your bindweed or your Bermuda grass, because both of those are so prolific and so hardy and so wanting to live through anything that they will emerge again. Now, I was just over at Janie's and I was helping her plant alliums with her and Robbie. And she had covered that whole orchard area with cardboard. And you would not believe the bindweed that the rhizomes, the stems were so thick. I thought, holy smokes, I thought they were limbs, tree limbs or branches. They were just that hardy, and she was just not devastated. I would say she was frustrated because she'd really hoped that the cardboard layer would really help with that Bermuda infestation in that area, and it's not working at all. So, but like my area here, her area is dry. So even though the cardboard was on top, she had to poke holes in it to plant her plants. And that's where the Bermuda, a lot of it had come up, but even I was drilling holes right through the cardboard, and underneath that cardboard, that Bermuda was thick. So it doesn't work for eliminating those type of pernicious weeds for that long. Maybe it might be as soon as, after one season, it looks like it's gone, but give it another year, it'll be back. Using cardboard in the garden has more drawbacks than it does benefits. So when you, across the board, if you just mulched or layered all the other components, maybe it's the garden pulling up the greens, like plants, or cutting them back. I do that. I'm filling 2 raised beds, and I have a ongoing video of it. And I'm just pulling up the plants, it's fall, or cutting them back, throwing the debris in there. I'm adding chicken litter from my chicken pen. When I get some compost, I will add some compost. Browns, I have pine needles all over them. Pine needles take a long time to break down too, but they will go down really thick. I have a forest across the street for me, and I can have as many pine needles as I want. They are very good at blocking out weeds or using as a mulch, but they take a long time to break down. Some people worry about the fire hazard. I use them in the winter. I pull them up in the spring, what's left, and compost them. And no, you don't have to worry about it being high acid, because dried pine needles are no more acidy than any other dried leaves. And the same is said for oak leaves. And I've had no issues using oak leaves, because the other trees all around me are oak and dogwood, and things like that. So good alternatives to using the cardboard is just go ahead and layer the leaves thickly, layer your green debris thickly, I have chicken debris that I put on with that compost. If you have it thick enough, it will do the job of the cardboard without any of the detriments, like maybe introducing toxins to your soil. Especially, I wouldn't want that in my vegetable garden, to be absorbed by the plants and get it into the soil. So I avoid the cardboard. Now over at Blossom and Branch, she changed her channel to regenerative gardening. She actually did soil testing after her cardboard foray, or cardboarding, as sheet mulching to block out the weeds. And it's very interesting what she found. I really appreciated that she did the soil testing, because it showed some interesting findings that are more scientific than just observing with your eyes. But I'll link that below in the description box for you, so you can go and take a look at that and see what she found. And, as I said before, this is not, you can't use cardboard in your garden. This is to let you know of what could happen and why you may not wish to use it in your garden, and what alternatives you do have that are as effective as the cardboard without any of the downside. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends if they would like to learn more about using cardboard in their garden, or why they may not want to. So I will see you in my next video.